Oh my gosh. Hi everyone, nama ako Karen. Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, I used to make a lot of cognitive science videos because that was my major in college. But now I am just your average corporate girly and I like making videos, so I kind of just want to make whatever I want now. But I also like helping people and sharing the life lessons I learned along the way. So if that's your vibe, hit the subscribe button and let's be friends. Today I want to talk about my ultimate college experience. I graduated college 4 years ago, which means that I graduated high school 8 years ago. Oh my gosh, I'm literally a grandma. Don't tell me. I know, I am old. But it is August and I think some of you guys are starting college soon. And I remember that because YouTube somehow still recommends me college content. And I still think about college from time to time because honestly, when me and my friends get together to hang out and we talk about deep questions, we always just ask each other, what are your biggest regrets in life? And usually I am a very positive person and I'm always like, nah, I don't have regrets. Life happens for a reason. I'm so glad everything happened the way it did. But if I'm being very, very honest, it would be college. College was my biggest regret. And sometimes it makes me feel kind of sad when I say that because I genuinely think that there were some things that I would have done differently had I known better. I don't want that to happen to you. So in this video, I am personally, unofficially constituting myself as your big sister, and I'll be telling you my juiciest college secrets and all of the things that I wish I knew before going to college. So for context, I grew up in the Bay Area of California, and in high school I applied to like 12 colleges and 7 of them were UCs. The people in my high school were very hardworking and everyone cared a lot about their grades, and I think that's pretty typical for most Bay Area high schools. I definitely remember being stressed a lot, especially during junior year, but I still enjoyed high school for the most part. Like, we had orientation meetings with our academic counselors and they gave us a lot of guidance about how to apply to the UCs and California state system. So that's why I mostly applied to UCs, and then I ended up getting into UC Berkeley. I actually wanted so badly, like tried to will it and manifest it and prayed it into existence to get into UCLA, but I didn't get in, so we blacklist them. I'm just kidding, don't do that. My brother went to UCLA. It's a great school. Go Bruins. So that was my stats. And that leads me to my first lesson, which I think is like the most important lesson. There is no right or wrong decision. There is simply a decision. So when I was deciding colleges, I was deciding between UC Berkeley and UC San Diego. I was torn because Berkeley, as you know, has a very, very intense reputation, and I was scared. I was so frightened out of my mind because I get stressed really easily and I just didn't want to deal with that. And San Diego had a great academic program and I felt like it had more of a balance. I think I ended up choosing UC Berkeley in the end because I happened to visit UCSD when it was very gray and rainy. And if you guys didn't know, UCSD is situated right next to the beach, so it was also very foggy. So it wasn't really anything like, I made a whole list of pros and cons and I researched into things like really, really thoroughly. It was literally just vibes. And looking back, I am just so grateful and so blessed for all of the opportunities that going to Berkeley has provided me. But I genuinely believe I would have had a great time if I had went to SD as well. Like, San Diego actually gave birth to the cognitive science program. They founded the first cognitive science program in the world in the late 80s. It would have been such a huge opportunity to learn from that institution. I guess another situation is when I didn't know what to major in. Like, in high school, I genuinely didn't know what I wanted to do, and I actually decided to do computer science because it was the club that I was the most active in, and my dad was in computer science. I grew up in the Bay Area, so literally like the tech bubble was so real. Everyone was doing CS. But then first semester and second semester happened and I was like, this is not clicking with me. And just thinking about studying it for the next 3 years literally made me have like a panic attack. But switching into cog sci was also not a very easy decision. Like, just imagine, like, if you're an Asian parent and your child calls you and tells you that they wanted to switch out of what you know to be this omega stable major into a major that they've never really even heard of. And also personally, I was worried because, as you guys know, there's not a lot of cognitive science resources online. I thought it was interesting, but I also was worried about the employability, whether or not I could get a good job after this, whether or not I'll be successful. But all I knew is that I felt like I would cry every day if I stayed. So at that time, I feel like making a decision to switch was a better alternative. I don't know if it was the right alternative in the traditional sense because who knows what my career trajectory would have been like had I majored in computer science. But I also wouldn't have experienced the beauty of cognitive science and helping thousands of you guys here on the internet who are interested in it as well. So moral of the story, if you're feeling a little anxious about the college that you chose or still feeling kind of salty about not getting into your dream school, you're gonna have a great time no matter what. Or if you still don't don't know what you want to study, just pick one and you will figure it out later. Don't think like you're missing out on anything if you choose one decision over the other, because if you are meant to be somewhere, life will literally find a way to get you there no matter what decision you choose to make. Number 2, your social life is just as important, if not more important, than your academic life. This might be a hot take. There's this running meme that you want to have good grades, a good social life, and enough sleep or good health in general, but you can't have all three. And I think that is somewhat true. But when I say that you want to prioritize social life, I don't mean like doing it irresponsibly and going out to parties even though you have a midterm the next day. You still need to graduate. Like, don't waste your time failing classes and having to retake them. But I mean it like, be efficient with your time and try to overlap all three as much as you can. So my regret is that I focused way too much on academics, and I would just sacrifice time with my friends just so I can go home and go to the gym and just lock myself up in my room to study by myself. But I genuinely wish I took advantage of studying with people. Like, studying sucks, there is no way around that, but if you study with the right people, it could actually be kind of fun, and it's actually kind of more helpful because you guys can bounce ideas off of each other and ask each other questions and just learn together. I also wish I had joined more team sports. Like, I used to play badminton in high school, and I wish I joined the badminton team. I also attended an info session for Dragon Boat, and I also auditioned for a dance team, but I ended up dropping both of them because I was worried that I wouldn't have enough time to study. I also wish I was more active in my Indonesian club. If you guys didn't know, I'm actually Indonesian, and growing up in the US, I never really had a lot of Indo friends, so I felt like it would have been so good for me culturally if I had hung out with that group more often. So yeah, it was just a lot of missed social opportunities in my opinion. It's not like I had zero friends. I feel like I was pretty active in a lot of clubs, so I knew a lot of people, but I never really invested so much time in them that I genuinely felt like I was part of a community. So if you're entering college soon, I would highly recommend just thinking about this and don't take being in such a social environment for granted, because at the end of the day, you're gonna remember the memes that you found during the crackhead 2 a.m. hours at the library a lot more than stressing out while studying for a particular midterm. Number 3, take the randomest, most interesting classes. College is literally the only time in your life where you can take literally any class that you want. It's already a part of your tuition. Like, for example, I took this class called Drugs and the Brain, and like, when else in my life am I going to be learning brain science like that in that context? I feel like I can like look up a TED talk on YouTube nowadays, but to literally just study it in detail with a distinguished professor for 3 months, like, that's never gonna happen again in my life. I also took a taekwondo class, and that was so fun. I learned how to do taeguk eljang, which is like the first form of taekwondo, and it was just such a safe environment to learn that as a 20-something with a lot of other 20-something-year-olds. Like, now you would not catch me signing up and paying money to go to a taekwondo class because I am simply too scared to put myself in a position like that as an adult. So I am very, very glad that I took that opportunity during my college career. So if you have time in your schedule, I would highly, highly recommend taking those random classes. Number 4, find opportunities to go abroad. And this could either be studying abroad or finding an internship outside of your home state. I wish I took advantage of studying abroad while I was in college because you have financial aid and grants to help support you. As an adult, I genuinely want to have that experience again, but now I have a factor of employment to think about, like whether or not I would have to quit my job and then find a new one after, and whether or not I have the financial means to do so, because if I were to do a full-time program, I would literally be without an income for however many years the program is. So I think it is still possible, but it's definitely a lot easier when you're still in school. But also another opportunity is to find summer internships away from where you live. I was actually just talking about this with my friend the other day, and we realized that summer internships are the perfect way to experience living somewhere else, because you're just away for 3 months, so that is little to zero risk just in case that you don't end up liking living there in the end. And also you have an income for those 3 months, and chances are you're gonna be put in an intern class, so you'll meet a lot of new people around your age who also want to explore the city. I guess the downside is only if the company doesn't provide you relocation or give you like a living stipend, but I generally think that the experience is worth it. I personally did summer internships all throughout college in San Francisco, which is only like an hour commute from where I live. So to be honest, I never really ventured away from the Bay Area at all, which is something that I really regret. But now that I'm older, I could find a new role in a different city, but it is a greater risk. Like, I have friends who literally relocated relocated and they ended up hating the city that they lived in. So take advantage during this time to explore a different place, because that's something I definitely wish I did when I was still in college. Number 5, pay attention in class. It is just more efficient. You'd be surprised like just how many people don't pay attention in class. Like they would be online shopping or texting their friends. I was definitely guilty of this as well. Like there's been many times when I would walk into lecture and then I would open up my laptop and I would just do online shopping or something because I was either bored, sleepy, hungry, or I just didn't know what the heck was going on. And then I would have to go home and then rewatch the lectures and re-review the slides, and it just ended up wasting so much time. It is definitely possible, and I think pretty likely, that you would go into lecture and not understand what's going on during class, but I found that even just actively listening would help, because then the material would still somehow enter your subconscious, and when you go home and re-review the slides, the material would at least be somewhat familiar. You're already there in lecture, the time is already blocked out in your schedule, might as well just use the time for what it's for. So pay attention in class, you will save yourself so much time. Number 6, run your own race. Imposter syndrome hits me so hard, not just during college, but I still deal with it now every day in my job, because never in my life have I ever perceive myself as intelligent or smart. Growing up, my brother, I think, was the smart one in the family, because every time I needed homework help, it would always just go to my brother. So going into college and taking a lot of technical classes, I was very stressed because I see everyone around me studying and doing homework as soon as it's assigned. And because I always thought of everyone as being smarter than me, I thought that I needed to do the same, and if not twice as much, because I needed to catch up. Looking back, I think I was pretty proud of myself for having that work ethic, but I definitely paid attention to people a lot more than I should have. I feel like that caused a lot of unnecessary stress. So don't focus on other people. You are smart, you are talented, you are capable. If you want to make plans to go hang out on a Saturday but people around you are doing homework, don't feel guilty or think that you're being judged if you don't do the same. It's your own life and your college experience. You know your limits and you know when you need to take a break. So just focus on yourself and do what's best for you. Number 7, be mentally prepared for any kinds of roommates. This is specifically for people who are staying on campus and not commuting from home. So if that's the case, I feel like college is the first time where you get to live with people outside of your immediate family. And going in, I didn't really mentally prepare myself for what could go wrong, because I've only heard dorming stories from my brother, and he was so blessed to have like amazing roommates. Actually, no, he had one problematic roommate, but I think they parted ways like halfway through the semester. But other than that, he became really close with his roommates and became best friends with them. So I had really high expectations going into college because I thought that my experience would be just like that. It was not just like that. I mean, it's not that it was bad. My freshman year roommates were very great people, but I realized that people grew up with different lifestyles and have different living habits. So people are not going to have the same level of cleanliness as you, and they're not going to have the same bedtime. And to resolve things, I realized that you need to develop a very effective communication style, and you need to be able to set boundaries and advocate for your own needs. But at the same time, you should also be open and listen to other people's needs and learn to not take things personally when you get called out on certain things. Because at the end of the day, I feel like everyone is there for the same thing, which is to get an education and vibe at the same time. I feel like if I was better mentally prepared for this, I wouldn't have been so uptight. Like, I was definitely not the easiest roommate either, because I used to be very sensitive about having control of my environment and being clean and going to bed on time. But I'd like to think that I'm more chill now, because I've learned and accepted that people have different ways of living, and as long as they're kind and considerate and open, there's really not a lot of issues that can't be resolved. And I feel like if I had just that mentality going into freshman year, my living situation would be just one less thing to be stressed about. So number 8, maintaining friends will take effort. College friends actually have a really high turnover rate. And what I mean by this is that there are some people in college where you meet in class and you get really close with them during the semester, but then after the semester ends, you guys just will not talk to each other anymore. And that naturally happens because you find other activities and join other clubs that take up more of your mental and physical bandwidth. And it's just difficult to keep up friendships if the only thing you guys have in common is taking that class. So my advice for making and maintaining new friends in college is to find an activity or a hobby that you guys have in common with, which could be something like thrifting, running, going to the gym, going to church. But the main thing is that it's activities, and it's more fun and involved and often less expensive than just grabbing lunch or dinner once every few semesters. Making friends in college is very different than making friends in high school, where you literally see the same person every single day for an entire year. It's a lot easier, unfortunately, to let go of certain people in college, so it takes a lot more effort to maintain the same level of friendship. Number 9, your old friendships will change. And this lesson is basically to be mentally prepared for your high school friends to drift away from you. Some people think of college as a fresh start, so they want to spend most, if not all, of their energy meeting new people and making new friends. So it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you, it's just something that they want to do. And you'll find that as you yourself go through college, you'll find out more about yourself, you find out what types of people you enjoy hanging out with, what types of people drain your energy, and you would also probably find yourself drifting away from people that you used to be close with. It's not anyone's fault. I think relationships are just bound to change, but it's important to know that the people that are meant to be in your life and who you truly click with, they will stay in your life forever. For example, I'm someone who values really long friendships. Like if you guys have seen my previous video, you saw my friends Celine and Lily. Like they've been my friends since middle school and I love them to pieces, and I am so blessed and grateful to have them in my life for this long. But honestly, in high school, we were close, but we were definitely not as close as we are now. And even going into the same college, we all decided to room with different people because we wanted to meet new people. But then we kind of just naturally found our way back to each other. And at the same time, I found myself drifting away from other people in high school that I used to be a lot closer with. So I guess my advice is to just be open. It might be hard, but try your best not to hold your current close friends to such high expectations. I'm praying that everyone in this life finds their best friend, someone who they truly click with and will stay in their lives for a very, very long time. But people come into your life and leave for a reason as well. So just let life run its course. Just know that the right people will stick by you no matter what direction you choose to grow. Okay, and lastly, number 10 is just more material things. These are things that I wish I had during college. So the first is an iPad. I definitely wish I had an iPad with an Apple Pencil when I was still in college. It is just so useful to take notes on. My classes use PowerPoint slides, and sometimes they would send the slides to you early. So it would be so useful if you just downloaded them and have it on your iPad and just annotate it on the side as you're going through lecture. Also for my CS classes, the main ways to study for the midterms were using practice problems and practice tests. And it's very useful to write down notes on the side as you're working through the problems. I used to print them out, so I'd have like thick stacks of paper, and it just made everything a lot more cluttered. And also you're carrying them around in your backpack, so it's definitely a lot heavier. Whereas my friends who had iPads, they just had it digitally and they would like go through the problems with their Apple Pencil, and it's just a more streamlined process. The second one is probably a car. It's not a necessity. I never had a car while I was in college, but if you could afford the parking and the gas and all of the costs associated with having a car, I would highly recommend. I don't know if it's like this for all college campuses, but sometimes I do feel like my campus was a bit of a bubble, and it would have been nice to have been able to go explore the neighboring city and just be in a different vibe than campus. It's also kind of a social flex because you can drive around your friends. Obviously, it's not a necessity. There's usually a lot of public transportation options, especially if you go to a bigger university. But just speaking from experience, as a girl, sometimes I would just not feel as safe in public transportation, especially at night. So there were just many times when I felt like having a car would be more convenient. And then laptop-wise, I would highly recommend just getting a MacBook. I entered freshman year with an HP laptop running Windows, and it was fine. It was completely usable, but for my CS classes, I noticed that I had to install extra packages and it would just take a little bit more time. And then I ended up getting a MacBook Air for my second year of college, and I just used that for the rest of my college years. It doesn't have to be the newest model. I feel like MacBooks are pretty powerful and they would just last you several years. So I would just save the money and just get a MacBook from the beginning. And number 11 is kind of a bonus, but call your parents. They won't want to call you because they assume you're busy and they don't want to disturb you while you're hanging out with your friends or studying, but they are curious about your life and they want to hear from you and they want to know that you're doing well. So just call them. And that's all the advice that I have for now. I hope this little chat was useful, and if any one of these tips made you a little bit less anxious about starting college soon, then I would consider it a success. Let me know if you have any more questions in the comments below, and also let me know if you like these types of chatty videos where I'm just yapping and giving you unsolicited life advice, or if this is boring and I'm literally just yapping for no reason. Open to feedback. If it's criticism, say it nicely so I don't cry. but that's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!